Bismillah. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, doctor.
Good. How is everyone?
We're good, thank you. How are you?
Alhamdulillah. How was the midterm? Fun? Was it a lot of fun?
Alhamdulillah, yes, it was nice.
Yes, good. Do you guys share the sentiment, everyone? Or did you find the MTA experience engaging, interesting? So Fana is saying that she did very well. How about everyone else?
Are you saying
You,
I did well, or are you saying that I said I did well? You muted yourself, doctor.
hmm?
Your
Yeah, I
voice was
didn't. Yeah. I'm saying that you said that you did well.
yes, inshallah.
How about everyone else? You don't remember or you don't want to remember? So we're reflecting on the MTA experience. If you have something to share with us, perhaps critiquing the MTA and say, um, we would have liked to have seen this and that. And okay. Anyway, so obviously, silence is approval. It means that you think that the exam was perhaps well proportioned. You could navigate the what the challenges, if any. Anyway, so what is it that we're doing tonight? This is obviously a master class, and we're doing voices in the part for a change. I remember and very vividly that I sent you an AI generated video, and so it's based on the notes that we have circulating about the course. So have you watched the video? Because I left it on the material group, which means that it was up for grabs and lots of people could access it. I mean, whether you belong to my class or the other teachers' classes. So have you gone the extra mile?
No, unfortunately for myself, no, I missed it.
Mm. How about everyone else? Did you miss it too? Or perhaps three? Okay, very encouraging indeed. Okay, so since we were not born yesterday, perhaps we know a thing or two about voices in the park. So what is it that we know about voices in the park, if any? The voices in the park, does it ring any bells? Mm. No. Is it a novel or a picture book? Did you ask yourself?
It's a picture book.
Okay. So what kind of picture book in terms of time? Is it a traditional picture book in the manner of the Little Peter Rabbit? Perhaps it is different. Is it modern or postmodern? And whatever that means, if we say it's a postmodern piece of work, how different or similar it is from the Little Peter Rabbit? Because we've been doing picture books for quite some time now, and perhaps we are now more knowledgeable about what picture books are than ever before. Okay. So yeah, I know it's the weekend and people are tired and you went through the traumatic experience of the MTA, I promise you. Just tell, um, yeah, I wanted to engage you. I mean, I don't want to monopolize the talk. I wanted us to, that's why I sent the video. I thought you will go and read it. I mean, not read it, it's passively engaging with the video, which is obviously I mean, the least that you guys could have done. But that's fine. I'm used to it, obviously. Okay, so let's start with the title. If the title is Voices in the Park, let's unpack the title. Again, relying heavily on our experiences as English major. You have been there for quite some time now. Yeah, let's talk about it. Voices in the Park. Let's unpack the title. Noor.
Yes, doctor. It is the more like inner voices of people who visit the theme park. Um, it's written intelligently in a way that the contradiction between human feelings and between personalities appear in a very nice way. It's it tackles many issues like the overprotective mother and an unemployed father. Um, it was really nice. It doesn't it appreciates the childness the child's smart like how can I say it when you don't underestimate a child with it. You give them these stories. You are challenging them for to dig meaning from it.
Please. Thank you, Noor. Thank you so much.
Welcome. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. So again, we're unpacking the title and it's Voices in the Park. So where are we from the title? Voices in the Park. So in terms of setting, we are in a park, right? And voices. So obviously we're talking about characters, right? So who has voices or what has voices or what creature has voices in life? It's obviously human beings. Or if it's anthropomorphic, it would be animals, right? So we're talking about voices, and this may suggest something. When we talk about narratives being, or us perhaps being held hostage to one single narrative or perspective, and this is actually what we're used to, right? Think of all the novels that you have read over the years. Even think of I mean, Tom's Midnight Garden or The Tale of Peter Rabbit. It's one single narrative and one single narrator. So, do we have this happening this time around, or no? This is a question that we will um, try to find answer to. Okay, so voices in the park. So obviously we have a multiplicity of voices, if you like, right? Okay, so voices in the park. And then, of course, what are the associations of a park? What does the word park trigger at the back of your minds when you hear the word park? So obviously we're not talking about parking cars. We're talking about a park, and it's obviously a large garden. So where do or what do people do in a park?
From the back of my
See
mind, I would say
animals.
nature.
We don't have animals in a park, and we're not talking about a zoo. You're confusing between zoos and
Yes.
parks, Ragat. But I think
It's
you
a
want to go to the
garden.
zoo, right?
There's
You
it's
want to go to the
garden
zoo,
and
right?
yes.
Okay, thank you. Sufana, you were saying something about
I
zoos
was going to
and
say nature.
parks and yeah,
I was gonna
nature.
say nature because there's usually grass, trees, walking, picnics, children.
So,
These are the things that we usually see at the park.
well, um,
And
I don't
also
know.
a
It's
space to play.
yeah, it's a place where children play, families reach out. Yeah, it has, I wouldn't say that it's nature because obviously it's guarded, it's well tended, it has gates, and if it has gates, people have like keys to it. It's not at least my image or my concept of nature, obviously. It's again, it's about human communication and human connection. Normally, people go to the God and the park to chill out and to have fun and relax, right? Sometimes human connections happen over there when people reach out and they are, ready to kind of talk and connect, right? So these are all attempts at human connection. Whether people take them to the next level and really connect or not, this is perhaps one of the issues that we're addressing tonight and next week and the week after. Um, okay, so obviously, when you go to the park, rather, you're open to the idea of human connection. But what happens if you go to the park, but you're not ready or you're not willing to connect? Obviously, we have a problem. And because it's a park, you normally have, wait, is it exclusive to one class, one gender? What do you think?
No.
Obviously, no, no. And it shouldn't, right? So it's not exclusive to one gender or one class. So if a class or a gender goes there and monopolize something, this is something that we don't accept, right? Is it also exclusive to one age group, one demographic, and like people and their
No.
no, it's also up for grabs for everyone, right? Okay, nice. So we're talking about, variety and diversity, right? In everything, classes, in gender, in demographics. Yeah, nice. Okay. Okay. So we need to also remember that it wasn't written at the turn of the 20th century like that Yellow Peter Rabbit was. So if you check any biographical detail about this picture book, you're going to find it written. Do you know when it was written? So when I say that it is a postmodern piece of work, what does this tell you? That it was written in the 20s of the 19th century? I mean the 20th century.
20th.
Yeah, it was written in the 20th, but which part of the 20th? Is it early 20th century or middle or perhaps later,
Late. Later.
much later, right? So
Yes.
if I say it's postmodern, it means that we're talking perhaps about the what, the 2000s? Yeah, perhaps. Um, are we talking about something different? Because we're so used to things prior to the
Yes.
2000s. We're used to traditional ways of looking at things because
And authoritative.
most of what we have done over the years were or was traditional, right? You have one single narrator, you have novels and plays, not picture books. Um, you have also, in terms of features within the work, you have this idea of um, linearity. When things have a clear trajectory, you're moving from the past to the present to the future. So we need to ask these questions. If it's a postmodern piece of work, what comes with that? Non-linearity, perhaps. Intertextuality, perhaps. You know what intertextuality is? When you have a work referring to other pieces of work within it. That's why we're calling intertextuality. Okay, so you have a work cross-referencing another work. You have, for example, a poem talking about Paradise Lost, which is another poem. You have a novel talking about another novel. You have a novel or a picture book that incorporates movie scenes, for example, or pictures from other works. So this is intertextuality, and it's always there when we talk about postmodern pieces of work. But is it only textual intertextuality where the focus is on a text, cross-referencing a text, or it can also be what we call visual intertextuality, where it's not only text that we're quoting or we're citing in a piece of work. It can be, like I said, cinematic, where we have clips from movies, can be music, it can be paintings by famous people. Okay, so this is at the core of the postmodern experience. So do we have that? If we say that Voices in the Park is a postmodern piece of work. So this is what we're going to see. Non-linearity, we're going to see whether this is happening. Ambiguity, because postmodern pieces of work are soaked in what we call pastiche, which means that you have what they call it collage, which means that you have things that you put together, and sometimes you repurpose things. They look traditionally they look in a certain way, but you repurpose them to achieve a certain effect. Are we seeing this? And with pastiche and collage, you also have ambiguity. And ambiguity can be visual ambiguity, and it can also be moral ambiguity, where you cannot um, answer questions with ease and comfort because they don't have one single answer. shifting perspectives, they call it. Again, we're going to always compare the Tale of Peter Rabbit to Voices in the Park. We're going to set them against each other. And because they are picture books, we need to crack the codes, whether we talk about colors, characters, and where they are. When we talk about, again, the relationships between the character, even the font that the characters are using. And again, the idea of anthropomorphism. And this is perhaps one of the things that the two pictured books share, the fact that they are the two of them are anthropomorphic, where we have animals behaving and acting like human beings. This time around, it's not rabbits and bunnies that we have. This time around, we have gorillas. And again, the question remains, why would we have animals, not human beings? And the answer is not far to seek this time around, because we're talking about social classes. And with social classes, you have difference. You have people in high places and people in low places or low classes. And obviously, if I have human beings and characters and they represent a certain social class, and you as a member of the audience belonging to a different social class, you may judge this character. So in order to perhaps avoid that, we have animals this time around, and of all the animals, we have gorillas. Okay. So what is it that we're going to do now? Because you haven't read the picture book, and because the picture book is not that big, I'll display it on the screen, and I'm going to share the screen with you, and I would like you to read it along. We're going to read it along together, and then we can ask all the right questions after we finish. So are we ready for that? Raise your hand.
Yes.
Okay. Again, this is a picture book, which means that you need to take the pictures and the images very seriously, right? Yeah, let's do it. Can you see that?
Yes, we can see your screen.
Okay, good. Bismillah. Okay. Done?
Yes.
Okay. So what is your overall assessment of it? Do you like it? Do you hate it?
I actually want to thank you, Doctor, for pointing out the font because I thought sometimes with electronical versions of books, the font isn't consistent. I thought the font here wasn't a part of the narrative, but when you pointed it out, I realized it was a part of the narrative and it gives each voice character. I really like that aspect. It's very modern.
Nice. Um, other impressions, other take on what was happening? Perhaps if I lead the narrative, let's make a combat. Yeah, let's have Noor and then go from there. Yeah, Noor.
Yes, Doctor, I like the change of the season according to the each character personality and feelings. From
Nice.
autumn trees till spring, like this.
Yeah. Other remarks, impressions. If you have to compare between the two, Little Peter Rabbit and Voices in the Park, which of them is perhaps which is a favorite? I mean, if you have to choose a favorite, now that you have also read this one. Yeah, Noor.
This is my favorite because I can relate to it more. It looks like my childhood. It looks like something I experience daily in my daily life. The racism, the classes between the classes, the human feelings. Me raising kids, we go to parks and we experience those people that maybe will look down on to us, or they can relate and be friendly. We experience like we are exposed to all parts of the society. So the park is a real nice place to for humans to be exposed as they really are. They are not like going to a fancy ball or to a place that they need to act. They are like the real people. You find the real personality of them without any covers or without yeah, they are like you know, when when kids play with each other, they don't say that where are you from or anything. They just play. But for grown-ups, it's a different story,
So are you
right?
trying to say that children here are teaching us a lesson? I mean, as adults?
Yes, for sure. They are innocent. They don't have those.
Mm.
Who should I play with? Is he
Mm.
looking good? Is he wearing nice clothes, or is he No, they don't. They have other standards.
Mm.
If he's friendly, if his face is nice and good, okay, I will play with him. It's that easy.
Mm.
For grown-ups, it's a long story.
Anybody else?
I
Okay.
like both. I like the simplicity
Mm.
of the art in Peter Rabbit,
Mm.
the earthy tones. However, as a person who is from the 2000, the colors are more, the voices in the park, the colors are more in line with what I grew up with, especially the sceneries. It kind of reminds me of the Windows desktop original picture. The colors are very vibrant, it's very round, it's very playful. In Peter Rabbit, it's much more simplistic. The colors are earthy tones, pastels almost.
Mm.
The even the font and the font idea really just blew me away. I really like the idea of the font. It's giving each character more emphasis on their personality and their voice, and how each font is influenced by a certain type of let's say feel or characteristics. So the mother, we look at her and we see that it's sans serif font, a serif font, not sans serif. A serif font, which is almost Times New Roman. It gives the proper tidy up that we find in titles like for the newspaper of New York Times. It's kind of the same font. She's a bit snobbish, controlling. She's obsessed with her manners and her appearance, and that reflects also in her view as well as the font. The father, we see him to be more simplest. He's a sans serif. He's from the working class. He's approachable. He's trying his hardest, and the colors at the end, even the image at the end, kind of gives hope that he has something brighter happening for him in the future. The boy is more delicate. He's formal. He's trying to be like his mother. He's lost in the middle between wanting to be himself, and there's a sense of loneliness that he feels. While the girl is more fun and colorful, but at the same time, you can feel like it's a bit timid as she's trying her best to be a part or take away the burden that the father is feeling. So I really, really like this aspect of the story. I feel it gives a much richer narrative to each character and more prospect and perspective.
MashaAllah. Excellent. So proud of you, Yusufar. Um, again, is it so how different or how similar it is from the Tilo Peter Rabbit, if we can strike any similarities, if you think they are similar in some way, and again, in the same breath, how different they are from each other.
We can say that they're both kind of ambivalent. You can't really tell what the author is trying to tell you. He's just putting a narrative out there, and you can deduct from it what you want to deduct
Which
from
is a
both.
sign of good art, right?
Yes, exactly.
If the meaning is up for grabs, yeah, this is a good thing. You're not held hostage to one single interpretation, right?
Yes.
Yeah, good.
And the anthropomorphism aspect, which is
Mhm.
the obvious aspect.
Yeah. Did you check the pictures? Because we said the pictures can mean a lot. I mean, you have gone through the experience of also checking and inspecting and examining pictures in the Tale of Peter Rabbit. Do you think that they were as helpful as they were in the Tale of Peter Rabbit? I mean, the pictures and cracking their codes and everything.
Yes, they played a huge part in the narrative. We can get a sense of how each character is feeling, not merely just by words, but by the color and the atmosphere of the setting itself. Like, for example, the father, we see him looking at this grayish kind of, he looks at the park. The park we see from all the other characters is colorful, it's spacious. But for the father in the part where he says, I wish I had half the energy he got regarding his dog, the image there is very dark. The space is very tidy. it feels suffocating. So in this aspect, we can grasp a lot about how he's feeling inside of himself.
Yeah. Okay. Any other ideas about the similarities or the lack thereof? So, what do you think of the narrative voice? Is it different or similar? What do we have in the tale of Peter Rabbit? Do we have a multiplicity of narrators? Do we have more than one narrator in the tale of Peter Rabbit?
Here we have multiple, and it's
Mm,
subjective, almost telling us reality depends on who's telling the story.
mm,
This gives all classes, all voices, all genders a chance to tell their tale or tell their truth.
mm,
In Peter Rabbit, it's almost authoritative and it comes from one perspective, so it takes away from the tapestry of the whole life itself.
yeah, true. So, what does it tell you, or what does this tell you about truth itself?
That is
Are we
subjective.
talking? Yeah, we're obviously not talking about one single truth, right? We're talking about shifting perspectives. We're talking about people seeing things from different angles of vision, depending on their demographics, on their gender, on their social class, right? And all the interpretations and all the perspectives are obviously valid. And so you don't have this absolute right or wrong, right? Good. So let's have a 10-minute break, and when we come back, we're going to perhaps watch an AI generated visual, and then we also build on that and we talk more about the whole experience. So I'll see you in 10 minutes, inshallah. Salam alaikum.
Okay.
Are we back, everyone?
Yes, doctor.
Okay, good. Um, nice. I'll give people like a minute before we proceed. So what is it that we're doing now? When, like I said, I have generated stuff from recording that I have from last semester, also on Voices in the Park, and we're going to kind of watch it together. It's only for perhaps 7 minutes, and then when we come back, we talk more about it. So give me a signal that you guys are all here. Raise your hands. So let's do it. Okay. Um, Drop your hands. Can you see that? Can you guys see it? No? No?
Yes, we can see. We can see it, doctor.
Okay. Fine.
All, all right, so
Can you hear that?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, let's do it.
let's jump right in. You know, when we think of children's books, we usually picture something, well, simple, right? Straightforward. But what if I told you that a book, one that just seems to be about a trip to the park, is actually this incredible deep dive into complex storytelling, social commentary, and even human psychology? Well, that's exactly what we're going to unpack today with Anthony Brown's Voices in the Park. So let's kick things off with a pretty big question. Can a story have more than one truth? I mean, think about it. We're so used to stories having just one clear point of view, but what happens when a story shows us that reality itself isn't fixed, that it can completely change depending on whose eyes you're seeing it through? Like, take a classic, something like The Tale of Peter Rabbit. It's a great story, no doubt, but you're kind of held hostage, right? You're stuck in Peter's head the whole time. You never get to find out what Mr. McGregor is really thinking. Well, Voices in the Park just flips that whole idea on its head. It takes one single event and just shatters it into four completely different realities. And that right there, that's the core of this book. It's got this super simple premise, but it opens up this entire world of complexity. I mean, that's it. One trip to the park. Simple, right? But as you're about to see, for the four people in this story, it might as well have been four different trips to four different parks on four completely different planets. So who are these four voices? Let's meet the cast. First up, you've got this wealthy, kind of snobbish mother. Then there's the father, who's unemployed and clearly down on his luck. Then you've got the kids. There's the mother's son, Charles, who's really timid. And the father's daughter, Smudge, who's the complete opposite, assertive and super playful. So four people, two families, and they could not be from more different worlds. All right, let's start peeling back the layers, because this is where it gets really cool. The first thing to look at is the text itself. Anthony Brown isn't just writing words on a page. No, he's using the actual font, the shape and style of the letters, to tell us who these characters are before we've even read a single sentence. Just look at the difference here. The mother's words are in this very formal, tall, kind of Times New Roman font. It feels so proper, rigid. It screams upper class. But then you look at the father's font. It's bold, it's rounded, it's totally informal. You immediately get this sense of a working class guy, maybe someone with a deeper, rougher voice. And it's the same deal with the kids. Their personalities are baked right into the text. Charles's font is so thin it's almost disappearing. It just screams, "I'm scared," it's weak, intimidated, like he has a tiny voice. And then, bam, you've got Smudge. Her font is fun and bold and hearty. It's just jumping off the page, full of life, just like she is. Okay, So the text is doing a ton of work here, right? But remember, this is a picture book. And the art? Oh, the art is where the really deep secrets are buried. Brown uses these illustrations to tell us all the things the characters can't or maybe just won't say out loud. So we're going to look at 3 huge artistic choices that make this book so incredible. First, the thing that probably jumps out at you right away. Why are they all gorillas? It's weird, but it's brilliant. Second, how he uses seasons and color to paint a picture of their emotions. And third, this amazing surrealist art style that literally shows us the world through how a character feels. Yeah, let's just tackle the gorilla in the room, shall we? Why gorillas? It seems totally random at first, but trust me, this is an absolutely deliberate and totally critical choice. And the reason is actually really profound. See, if these characters were people, we'd immediately start judging them, right? We'd bring all our own biases about race, about class. We'd probably pick a side. But by making them gorillas, Brown just wipes the slate clean. He forces us to connect with them on a purely human level, with their feelings, without all that baggage. Now, check out how the visuals change with the mood. When we're seeing the park through the mother's eyes, everything is autumn. The colors are kind of dull, browns, oranges. But then, the moment the kids, Charles and Smudge, start playing together, boom! The whole world just explodes into spring. We see bright pinks, vibrant greens. It's all about new life. And then, when they have to leave each other, the mood just plummets. It becomes dark, almost wintry with these heavy, dark colors. It's like the weather is literally their feelings. And there's this other layer too. Brown uses this really surreal, almost dreamlike art style, especially when we're seeing things through Smudge's eyes. The point isn't to show us what's actually happening, but to show us how she feels about what's happening. The art isn't about logic, it's all about emotion. Here's a perfect example of that. When Smudge sees the rich mother getting mad, she doesn't just see an angry gorilla. No, in her world, the mother's hat literally pops off her head and just hangs there in the air. The flowers on her scarf stand straight up like they're shocked. It's this perfect, hilarious, exaggerated kid's eye view of what a grown-up tantrum looks like. Okay, so let's recap. We've got shifting points of view, fonts that have their own personalities, and art that's all about emotion, not reality. So what does all this add up to? Well, it's all building towards one really big idea: postmodernism. Now, don't let that word scare you off. It's actually a pretty simple concept. All postmodernism really means is a style that questions the idea that there's only one single absolute truth. Instead, it says, hey, maybe the world is made up of a bunch of smaller individual truths that don't always agree with each other. Sound familiar? I mean, Voices in the Park is basically a textbook example. Let's run down the checklist. Does it have multiple truths? Yep, 4 of them. Does it have intertextuality? You know, little nods to other works of art, like famous paintings in the background? Absolutely. Does it have an ambiguous ending that kind of leaves it up to you, the reader, to decide what it all means? You bet it does. And it makes sense, right? The book came out in 1999, which puts it right in the heart of the postmodern era. So this isn't just some random story. It's a reflection of a bigger cultural shift in how we were starting to think about what truth even means in a story. So when you put it all together, what's the big takeaway? What are we supposed to walk away with after reading this surprisingly deep little book? Well, it's really a lesson in 3 parts. First, it completely forces you to question your own stereotypes about things like class. Second, it shows you just how powerful and important it is to find a connection with someone, even if they seem totally different from you. And finally, and maybe most importantly, it teaches empathy. There's a quote that just sums up this book perfectly. The deeper you dig, the more meaning you get. And that's so true. This isn't a book you just read passively. It's more like a puzzle. It rewards you for looking closer, for digging into all those little details in both the words and the pictures. When it comes right down to it, the message of Voices in the Park is powerful and simple. Your perspective, my perspective, it's never the whole story. And that leaves us with one final question to think about. I want you to take a story you think you know really well. Could be from history, something in the news, maybe even something from your own family. And then ask yourself this: whose voice is missing?
Hmm. What do you think?
I like the end where he said whose voice is missing. Immediately made me think about what if we could hear the perspective of the dogs.
That's interesting, yes. But perhaps if you can also apply it to situations in your life where there was like some kind of narrative that has, people adding up and contributing, but somehow, an aspect is missing, an element is missing, um, you know, a voice is missing. But yeah, that's a very interesting and a very fresh way of looking at it. Yeah, yeah, we tend
Doctor,
to, yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
the voice of the author, isn't it missing too?
Well, we tend to kind of dissociate the author from the actors or the characters. You don't really know who is. I mean, obviously, when we talk about the bigger picture, when we talk about the takeaways, this is normally what we settle for as the voice of the author. Whatever conclusions we arrive at, we say this is what the author wanted. When in actual fact المعنى في بطن الشاعر. if um, if this applies, obviously, because sometimes writers write things for their own sake. I mean, and this is a school in and of itself, art for art's sake. They don't have an agenda, or this is what they say normally. So I don't believe that you can associate the author with any of the four voices unless we're talking about universal truth. And the universal truth here is the total sum of the four voices, the takeaway, the fact that truth is never absolute, at least not anymore. And the fact that, all voices should be heard. And it's a tapestry that uh, that needs everything. So you need to net things together so that you can come up with the bigger picture. Yeah, what else? What are some of the takeaways? I mean, the video is very compelling, very interesting, and very, yeah, just out of this world. And even the images, way better the images in the picture book itself. And this is AI, by the way. And they are saying it's not creative. So perhaps we need to define or redefine creativity, right? What else did you like about the video?
Doctor, I think is creative depending on the input you provided. So this is your creativity.
Yeah, but look at the images. I can say whatever I want to say, and you're an excellent artist. But would you be able to render those compelling images? Yeah, and it just they took my breath away. Amazing, just amazing. Okay, طيب. Let's do something perhaps more interesting. I also generated a podcast. Perhaps it's going to be a little bigger, and I would love that we hear it together so that we can also discuss it. Because if I leave it to you, some people may kind of listen, and some other people may get carried away with those everyday engagements. Bear it up with me and let's listen to it. How about that?
Okay.
Okay, nice. No, this is not what I want.
That's right. It's Voices in the Park by Anthony Brown from 1999, and it's a
Can you hear that?
Yes, we can hear it, Doctor.
Okay.
fantastic example of how deep these books can actually be.
So our mission for you, the listener.
Oh, we want to unpack how this seemingly simple book uses some really clever artistic and writing techniques.
To talk about some pretty big contemporary ideas, right? Like social class, different perspectives.
Exactly. And even the nature of truth itself, it gets quite philosophical.
When I first looked at the analysis, what jumped out was the structure.
It's not your typical story.
No, not at all. Simple on the surface, a trip to the park, but deep.
And unique because you get 4 different viewpoints on the same event. That's unusual for a kid's book.
It really is. You hear from the mother, the father, the son Charles, and the daughter Smudge. Each tells their own version.
Which leads right to the big question.
I don't know.
Why do that? Why split the story 4 ways?
Good question. Most children's books, they give you one perspective. Peter Rabbit's view is the only one that matters in his story.
Right.
But here, this fragmentation, it's very intentional. It's actually a key part of its postmodern feel, especially for 1999.
Okay, postmodern. So we're talking more than just multiple voices. It's about questioning truth.
Precisely. There's no single reliable narrator telling you the truth. Brown deliberately shows that truth isn't absolute.
How does that play out?
Well, take the moment the mother and father interact. His description of it is completely different from hers.
Oh, okay.
And the book basically forces you to accept that both, or maybe all 4 viewpoints, can be valid even if they conflict. Reality shifts depending on who you are.
And what's striking, the source analysis points this out, is how realistic the themes feel, even with animal characters.
Totally. It deals with very real stuff. Unemployment, big class differences, the mistrust between those groups.
Things you definitely see in society.
Yeah, and the park setting is perfect for that. It's this neutral ground where different social classes, people who might never interact otherwise, suddenly have to share the same space.
That tension in such an ordinary setting, that's powerful.
It really is.
Okay, so let's get into the technical side, because this is where, for me, it went from just a story to like a piece of art analysis.
Yeah, the details matter hugely in picture books.
The idea that everything counts, the font, the colors, the way things are drawn.
Absolutely. Let's start with the fonts. This is fascinating. They act as this sort of subtle commentary on who the characters are, their status, their personality.
You pick it up visually before you even read the words.
Exactly. So the mother, clearly upper class, a bit rigid.
Formal, yeah.
Her font is Times New Roman. Think official documents, formal papers. It even has those little pale serifs, which historically suggest, refinement, traditions.
It fits her personality perfectly.
Yeah.
Bossy,
Mhm.
maybe a bit stuck up.
It reinforces that,
Yeah.
definitely. But you might ask, we already see her fancy clothes. Why double down with the font?
Yeah, why is that needed?
It's about conditioning how you hear her voice in your head. It adds another layer. Now contrast that with the father.
He's working class, struggling with unemployment. A very different vibe.
And a very different font. It's less formal, often bolded. It feels maybe deeper, a bit rougher.
The letters are more rounded too, aren't they? No sharp edges like hers.
Right. And critically, look at his grammar. The analysis highlights this. He says things like, we'd been down to the job center again. It's simpler language.
So the font and the words together paint a picture of his social standing.
Precisely. Then you've got Charles, the son. He's timid, completely overshadowed by his mom.
Who's described as like gigantic and intimidating.
Yeah, and his font shows that perfectly. It's incredibly thin, almost fragile, like it could just disappear off the page.
It looks like a weak voice.
Yeah,
It embodies his feeling small and scared.
it really does. And then the complete opposite Smudge.
The daughter.
Hmm.
Full of life.
Okay. Totally. Outgoing, assertive. Her font is fun, playful, bolded. It feels hearty, resilient, even though her dad's having a tough time.
Wow. So the typography alone is doing a huge amount of character work.
It's incredibly elegant, and that detail carries right over into the illustrations. They're not just background, they're packed with meaning.
Inseparable from the text, you mean?
Absolutely. The deeper you look, the more you find. Take the use of seasons and color.
Okay, how did that work?
The mother, for instance, is always linked with autumn.
Fall. So symbolic of decline, things ending.
Sort of, yeah. The opposite of vibrancy, maybe. Her colors are muted browns, dull yellows, oranges. Nothing bright.
But then the kids start playing together.
Ah, yes. Charles and Smudge and their dog. Suddenly the whole scene changes.
It becomes spring-like, right? Pinks, greens, blues.
Exactly. Colors suggesting new life, optimism, connection. It's a huge contrast.
But it's almost jarring how closely Charles's mood seems tied to the visuals.
Well, the analysis points out that when his mother pulls him away from Smudge,
yeah.
the mood instantly shifts back. The visuals become dark, almost pre-winter.
Trees losing leaves, colors getting gloomy, dark greens, blacks, browns.
Yes. The environment itself seems to reflect his sadness, his depression, which is, a pretty heavy idea for a children's book. The world literally darkens with your mood.
And this visual storytelling also shows power dynamics, doesn't it? Like the size of the characters.
Definitely. The mother is drawn as physically huge. She dominates the frame, looms over Charles. It visually reinforces her control.
And the father, he's often shown with shadows.
Yes, heavy, dark shadows, especially when he's sitting alone. It adds this three-dimensionality, suggesting his isolation, his internal struggle with unemployment.
Wow.
And this connects to something else. The analysis mentions visual intertextuality.
Meaning references to other art.
Exactly. Look at Smudge's sections. She uses surrealism, dreamlike images that don't follow logic.
How did she use that?
Well, often for mockery, especially towards the mother.
Really?
There's a great example where Smudge pictures the mother's fancy red hat just popping off her head, hanging in the air, and the flowers on her scarf suddenly stand bolt upright.
Huh. That sounds quite pointedly sarcastic.
It is. It's comic, but it's Smudge using art to comment on the mother's rigid anger. But it goes deeper.
Okay.
There are moments, subtle ones, where Charles's face, his expression of fear, seems to directly echo Edvard Munch's painting, The Scream.
No way. The Scream in a picture book.
Yes. It's a way to visually signal the depth of his anxiety, his internal pain, by referencing probably the most famous image of modern anguish.
That is incredibly layered, especially for kids.
It shows how sophisticated Brown's approach is. Which brings us to maybe the most obvious question. Why gorillas?
Yeah, I was wondering that. Why not people? Or dogs? Or bears? Why gorillas?
The analysis argues it's a very deliberate choice. It's about empathy. It helps bypass our biases. Well, think about it. If these were human characters, visually coded by class, maybe race, you, the reader, might bring your own prejudices into it. You might resist identifying with, say, the working class father or the upper class mother based on preconceived notions.
Ah, I see. So making them gorillas kind of neutralizes that initial judgment.
Exactly. It forces you to connect with their experiences, the father's despair about being jobless, the mother's loneliness, Charles's fear without the filter of human stereotypes getting in the way first. You relate to the emotion, not the label.
That's clever. And the dynamics between them also play with stereotypes, don't they? Especially gender roles.
They really do. Smudge completely flips the script on the typical, quiet, passive girl role.
She's the assertive one. Outgoing, takes charge, gets Charles to play.
She's the initiator, absolutely. Whereas Charles, he takes on what we often stereotype as a more female role in that dynamic. Submissive, controlled by his mother, quite passive.
So it challenges those traditional ideas of how boys and girls should act.
Definitely. And even the dogs aren't just dogs. They also symbolize status.
Oh yeah, how?
The mother owns Victoria. Sounds grand, right? She's presented as a pedigree, a refined breed, expensive.
Fitting. And the father's dog.
Albert. Just Albert. He's described as a mongrel. A common street dog, no fancy background.
Wow. So even the pets reflect the class divide.
Every element seems designed to reinforce these themes. The text, the images, the character choices, the setting, it's all interconnected.
So wrapping this up, our deep dive really shows this isn't just a simple picture book. It's operating on so many levels.
It really is, using art, font, perspective, all to offer this quite nuanced social commentary that frankly still feels incredibly relevant today.
It manages to be complex, but still enjoyable and meaningful for adults as well as kids.
And that links back to the postmodern idea we started with by giving you these four separate, slightly conflicting stories and not really wrapping it all up neatly at the end.
Right, the ending is a bit ambiguous.
Exactly. It doesn't hand you a simple moral. It makes you, the reader, piece things together, draw your own conclusions about truth, about class, about empathy. No single meaning is forced on you.
It really makes you think about those visual references too. We mentioned the Scream, maybe hints of the Mona Lisa. If the whole point is using art to help us connect across divides, what other famous paintings or sculptures might be subtly woven into those illustrations? And how does spotting those maybe change or deepen how we understand this simple walk in the park? Something for you to maybe look out for next time you see this book.
Yeah. So what do we know more? What are some more insights? So did you like the podcast? Let's start this way.
Yeah,
Did
they
you?
raised very interesting points regarding gender, regarding the interpersonal narrative that you've mentioned before, how the character kind of looks like the Mona Lisa. I actually thought it kind of looks like the painting The Scream, I feel like that aligns with it more because it's kind of like she's screaming. Also the fact that even in the subtle fact that about the dogs that they own, there's also a class difference between what kind of pet they have.
Mhm.
So that was
Yeah.
also how much that the author put in mind and taking it and stretching the concept to the furthest, which is really interesting. It shows a lot of details.
Yeah. Any other insights? Okay, so I'll share that, especially the visual presentation. And yeah, we still have more to talk about. It's very engaging, but short and sweet. And that's why we'll finish it next week. Today was very comprehensive, and I didn't expect it to go that way. So I'll leave you with the recordings, and that can help. So we'll have the regular class on Monday, and then we wrap things up on Thursday during the master class. Until then, I wish you all the best. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you so much, Doctor. Wa alaikum salam.
Bye bye.